In ancient Greece, the chief magistrate in various Greek city-states was called Eponymous Archon. Archon means ruler or lord, frequently used as the title of a specific public office, while eponymous means that he gave his name to the year in which he held office, much like the Roman dating by consular years. In Classical Athens, a system of 9 concurrent archons evolved, led by 3 respective remits over the civic, military, and religious affairs of the state. The 3 office holders were known as the Eponymous Archon, the polemarch, and the archon basileus. The 6 others were the thesmothetai, judicial officers. Originally, these offices were filled from the wealthier classes by elections every 10 years. During this period, the Eponymous Archon was the chief magistrate, the polemarch was the head of the armed forces, and the archon basileus was responsible for some civic religious arrangements and for the supervision of some major trials in the law courts. After 683 BC, the offices were held for only a single year, and the year was named after the Eponymous Archon. Background: the archon was the chief magistrate in many Greek cities, but in Athens there was a council of archons which exerted a form of executive government. For the late 8th century BC there were 3 archons: the archon eponymous, the polemarchos, and the archon basileus. These positions were filled from the aristocracy by elections every 10 years. During this period, archon eponymous was the chief magistrate, the polemarch was the head of the armed forces, and the archon basileus was responsible for the civic religious arrangements. After 508 BC, the offices were held for only a single year, and the year was named after the archon eponymous. The year ran from July to June. The archon eponymous was the chief archon, and presided over meetings of the Boule and Ecclesia, the ancient Athenian assemblies. The archon eponymous remained the titular head of state even under the democracy, though with much reduced political importance. Under the reforms of Solon, himself archon eponymous in 594 BC, there was a brief period when the number of archons rose to 10. After 457 BC, ex-archons were automatically enrolled as life members of the Areopagus, though that assembly was no longer extremely important politically. One of the archons oversaw the procedure for ostracism after 487 BC. An archon's court was in charge of the epicleroi. Other duties of the archons included supervising the Panathenaea and Dionysia festivals. List of archons of Athens. In the following list of archons, years where the name of the archon is unknown are identified as such. Years listed as anarchy mean that there was literally no archon. There are various, conflicting reconstructions of lists. Sources for this list are given at the end. Note that the term of an archon covered 2 of our years, beginning in the spring or summer and continuing into the next spring or summer. The polemarch, strategoi, basileus, and thesmothetai are also listed, where known. Archaic period life archons. The later Athenian tradition varies on the exact position of this line. They held archonship for life, sometimes referred to as perpetual archon, and exercised the sacral powers of kingship, as did the archon basileus later. The historicity of any of this ancient list may be reasonably doubted by the layman and capable of different interpretations, but where there may be no doubt is to historical documents. Aristotle indicates that Medon and Acastes may have ruled as king rather than archon. Decennial archons. In 753 BC, the perpetual archonship by the Eupatridae was limited to 10 years. Annual archons. After 683 BC, the archonship was limited to 1 year. Archons were chosen from the Areopagus Council and resided in the Prytaneum.